Right, so Matt Goodwin has just refused to face a room full of local voters in Gorton and Denton. He's run away from them, basically. He's tried to wrap it all up in the language of impartiality, though, that was the real issue here. That somehow it might not be fair, despite most other candidates very much turning up for it, as if doing this is some sort of a noble stand, instead of the obvious thing that it actually is, which is picking the safest possible platform instead, in this case social media, making his excuses and still having the nerve to ask for your vote. He put the statement out himself. He's named the excuse and he's left the one place where the public get to ask direct questions without a producer in the middle. But this is just the latest example in the broader pattern of Reform UK, isn't it? This is the problem with his party. This seat is a straight fight between Reform and the Greens. So the one thing you cannot do is look like you're managing risk instead of earning the trust of the people in front of you whose vote you want. Add Nigel Farage into the mix, refusing to debate Zack Polanski. Add Richard Tice into the mix, claiming a debate wasn't safe for him to attend when he did a runner as well. And you've got a party that sells toughness and straight talking as their stock in trade, while treating any real scrutiny as an existential threat to them. Their ideas, no show. Richard Tice pulled out. Farage won't face me. Now their candidate in Gorton and Denton has ducked our candidate, Hannah Spencer. Goodwin coming back in response to that with, I didn't duck anything, I just avoid openly biased debates. I look forward to debating green policies at the MEN and BBC televised debates. Openly biased debates now, are they? Because the BBC is such a neutral platform, of course, isn't it? Claims of bias and impartiality are doing a lot of work for him here, because these aren't demands for fairness, but for control. He's not pointing to a published format that excludes him. He's not naming a condition that would guarantee equal time. He's not even offering to attend on a condition that can be met. He's just smearing the room, everyone in it, everyone who organised it, everyone who attended and walked away from it, still having the brass neck to ask for your vote. The constraint he's fixing is very simple. He gets to choose the platform, and if he can't choose it, then the event becomes biased. And Reform say they aren't a bunch of snowflakes, I mean honestly. Ordinary working class people with your main rival being very much one of those, a plumber, and he's scared rigid. Matt Goodwin's also tried to inoculate himself with that first line about never shying away from a free and fair debate. And you can see the trick because he's describing himself, not describing what he's doing. The observable act isn't free and fair debate. The observable act is refusing to attend a public meeting organised for local residents in the constituency he wants to represent. How dare these people that he wants to represent question him? What kind of MP would that make him? And the moment you refuse the only kind of scrutiny that can't be managed from a studio chair, you've told everyone what you actually think politics is. It's performance on your terms. And it stops being performance when someone in the room can stand up and ask you something you didn't prepare for. The timing makes it worse for him because this isn't a sleepy, safe seat contest where you can coast along and nobody's going to notice. The betting markets have been treating this as a two-horse race between Reform and the Greens, literally from the get-go, with Labour drifting a long way behind them and seemingly going even further behind them now. Hannah Spencer, the Green candidate, is the reason that matters, though, because she isn't a Westminster brand. She is a local plumber. She's the Green candidate. She's the kind of opponent who makes the whole Reform image wobble and fall apart. She terrifies them. By extension of what she is, and by extension we as ordinary working class people therefore must terrify them. Because these people are in it for the millionaires and the billionaires, not for us. Reform sells itself as the party of plain speaking, no fear, no filters. Matt Goodwin himself, the political professor, the media commentator, the GBB's host. If that man can't sit in a room where a local plumber can answer questions about local life and local issues, then his entire posture collapses into what it always was. Tough talk when there's a studio desk between you and the public, and excuses when the public are actually in the room. Matt Goodwin's chosen excuse is also a confession, because he's effectively saying that if the organisers have previously said things he doesn't like, he will treat the entire audience as hostile and the entire event as rigged. That's not impartiality, that's fragility. That's cowardice, that's fear. If you're constantly telling everyone you can handle the truth, then you don't get to ever run away from a question time format in a church hall and then expect applause for your courage. Nigel Farage has been doing a variation of the same thing. Zack Polanski has now repeatedly challenged Farage to a leader-to-leader debate, And Farage has refused. And Farage's own words make the dynamic painfully clear again, because he answered a question about debating Polanski by saying, "No, I genuinely find that if you pick a fight with a chimney sweep, you might get covered in soot, so I might just leave that alone." And then he added, he's got a fan club, all the heroin smokers and everything. That's Nigel Farage choosing an insult instead of a debate, because the one thing he does not want is a format where he has to answer a policy question in front of people who can challenge him back. The knuckle-dragger's blaring at Polanski right now after Reform's unelected head of policy, no wonder he has so much time to go on the media then, Zia Yusuf, challenged him to a debate, but forget Polanski has already done so twice with him and handed him his backside on both occasions, so why bother with him again? Besides, it's Farage who wants to run the country, isn't it? He should be the one answering the questions, and if he can't or won't, how dangerous to all of us does that make him? Because he refuses to be scrutinised, how dare we ask for such a thing, and our woeful mainstream media incessantly fails to do so. So again, no wonder Goodwin is so keen on studio formats. And Farage's refusal fixes another constraint here. If Farage debates Polanski, he has to explain Reform's programme, Reform's backers, Reform's record, and he has to do it in a space where he can't just throw a slogan and move on. He would have to, because Polanski would press him on such things. If he doesn't debate Polanski, he gets to keep the Greens as a caricature, and he gets to keep his voters in a permanent state of performed grievance rather than tested claims. Richard Tice has done it too, because he declined an invitation to debate Zack Polanski at Glastonbury, and his side issued a statement saying it wouldn't be safe for him to attend. They really are absolute hellers in Somerset, apparently. But that's the deputy leader of a party built on a hard man posture telling you he can't safely attend a debate at a festival. Zack Polanski responded with one word, snowflake, and it landed, because it's true. Now, none of this is just about personal nerves. The point is what they're choosing to be accountable to. Matt Goodwin is saying he'll attend the Manchester Evening News hustings and the BBC debate, which means he's choosing mediated formats run by institutions with their own rules and their own control of time, where local residents can ask questions directly in a local venue and could ask anything at all. But Goodwin refuses, choosing the cameras instead. And the reason it matters in this constituency is because this by-election has already become a live test of whether Reform can actually withstand scrutiny when it isn't protected by the usual media habits. Reform has been campaigning hard in the area, but it's also already been caught in behaviour that makes its straight-talking pitch look like a marketing line. A campaign letter presented as a concerned neighbour message has been reported as missing a legally required imprint, and Greater Manchester Police have confirmed they've received a complaint and will investigate that. I covered that in more detail the other day. Reform has acknowledged commissioning that letter and has blamed a printing contractor for the missing imprint. It's not a minor technicality when the entire point of imprint rules is to stop political messaging pretending to be something it isn't, and besides which, they still delivered the damn things. So the pattern isn't just dodging debates, it's controlling the conditions under which reality is allowed to be checked when it comes to them. A hustings is reality checking, a direct question is reality checking, an imprint is reality checking. Matt Goodwin's statement is an attempt to pre-blame the room for what might happen to him in it. He's telling voters that if he went, the platform won't be level, which is clever because it sets up an excuse for any difficult moment before it happens. But Reform have got a pattern and a habit for doing this now. He's building an exit ramp out of accountability and calling it integrity instead. But the constraint he's imposing is the same one Reform imposes everywhere. They will participate only when they can guarantee the conditions won't embarrass them. That's the polar opposite of neutrality. In Gorton and Denton, that's got an extra sting to it because the contest has turned into something Reform can't easily narrate its way out of. It's not just us versus Labour, it's Reform versus the Greens. And the Green candidate is a local plumber who can talk about local life, talk about ordinary people that she encounters because she works in their houses every single day. She fixes stuff all the time without sounding like she's reading lines from a script. The longer Goodwin avoids direct, unscripted questions in front of residents, the more he turns the race into a referendum on his temperament and not the party's policies, whatever they are. But the part that's genuinely unavoidable now is that Reform has turned debate into something it demands from the public whilst refusing it for itself. Nigel Farage demands confrontation, then refuses a leader-to-leader debate and throws insults instead. Richard Tice sells himself as the tough realist, then says a debate at Glastonbury isn't safe. Matt Goodwin calls himself fearless, then says a community hustings isn't neutral enough for him to attend. That changes how this by-election has to be understood. Because the act isn't just didn't attend, the act is picked the platform where the questions were safest. A community hustings is where the voters have the microphone. A studio debate is where the institution has it. A party that keeps selecting the second and rejecting the first is telling you what it's afraid of. And it isn't the Greens as an ideology, it's the general public itself. Ordinary working class people terrify Reform UK, yet they still think they deserve your vote. The Electoral Commission's own guidance on candidate imprints is blunt about the principle involved there too, because the imprint exists to show who's responsible for campaign material and to keep political persuasion from pretending to be something else. Candidate election material has to carry an imprint identifying promoter and printer. That means when a party pushes a concerned neighbour line into homes, the law expects the voter to be able to see on the face of the document who is actually behind it. The constraint is transparency, and the moment that constraint goes missing, every other claim inside the document should become that much harder to trust for people who think about it a bit. Now, a party can make mistakes, of course they can, and a printer can make mistakes, of course they can. But Reform has already chosen the same core approach twice in the same constituency. Keep the contact with the voter tightly framed and keep the attribution blurred until it's forced into the open. The concerned neighbour letter is a persuasion device designed to feel personal. The hustings withdrawal is a persuasion device designed to feel principled. Both of them operate by moving the voter away from a clean, direct comparison and into a story where the candidate is always the victim of someone else's unfairness. Matt Goodwin has also chosen to end his statement with the slogan, "Vote Reform, get Starmer out," which is another way of avoiding the local question, or anything that actually matters, because none of this is going to remove Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. The voters in Gorton and Denton are not electing a Prime Minister, they're choosing an MP, in a specific place, with specific problems, and the hustings is the format where those problems can't be waved away with the national culture war line. Hannah Spencer doesn't have the luxury because her whole pitch is local legitimacy, which she's got in spades. A plumber standing for the Greens isn't selling a television persona, she's selling credibility in the most basic form there is. You live here, you work here, you fix things here, you can look other people in the eye that you live with every other day and answer their questions. And the moment the better-known media candidate refuses to turn up to the room, he's handing Spencer the cleanest contrast imaginable, and you can only hope more voters are seeing that in Gorton and Denton now. So Matt Goodwin has therefore made one thing unavoidable here for himself. He's made his own comfort with direct accountability into an issue, because he has publicly defined a local hustings as potentially not neutral, biased even, which sets the expectation that he will treat unfriendly scrutiny as illegitimate. So the next time he's challenged in any setting, the line impartiality will be waiting for him like a pre-written excuse. If I was working on the Greens' position ahead of these debates, calling out running away from ordinary voters in Gorton and Denton in favour of studio lights and cameras and no doubt soft-padded questions would absolutely be where I would take things, perhaps with a question or two from locals unable to put them to Goodwin themselves and put them to him there in the studio. Nigel Farage has the same problem because he has made refusal into a habit while still selling himself as the national truth-teller. The chimney sweep line is memorable for the wrong reason. It shows a man refusing to debate while pretending the refusal is out of some sense of superiority. Richard Tice has the same problem because not safe is a phrase that doesn't shrink back into the bottle. If you say you can't attend a debate because it isn't safe, you just told everyone you think the public are a threat to you when you can't control the room. Matt Goodwin has also made something else hard to deny in a seat where voters have been invited to a question time format in a church hall. He's made it normal for a candidate to treat local civic events as optional. A hustings is one of the few settings where a resident can ask a question that doesn't fit the national script or anyone else's script. When candidates refuse that setting, the voter loses the last direct lever they have, and the only thing left is the marketing that keeps coming through their doors. Matt Goodwin is now stuck with a simple visual that doesn't care about his wording. A public hustings is advertised and his name is the one missing from the room. He can turn up to the newspaper event, he can turn up to the studio debate, he can do as many controlled appearances as he likes. And none of it will change the fact that when the local community set the terms, he declined. He walked away, he said no, and he blamed the community for it. And yet he still wants their votes nonetheless. So are any of you who might be living in Gorton and Denton still thinking of voting for him, if that's what he's actually thinking of you? Because that's the part that surely becomes indefensible now, because straight talking only counts when you can't control the microphone. Reform senior figures have chosen avoidance when the challenger is green and the venue is unpredictable, and they've chosen jokes and smears or safety claims to justify that. In a by-election priced as a Green Reform fight, Matt Goodwin has given Hannah Spencer the cleanest possible argument without her needing to raise her voice or even utter a single word, because one of them will face the room and face potential future constituents, and the other will run away from them and will only face a camera. For more on Lettergate as it's become known, an issue which could see Reform potentially disqualified even, despite their excuses, check out more on that story here. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as spreading the word and helping support the channel at the same time, which is very much appreciated. Holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next one. Cheers, folks.